I'm glad you enjoyed your thing of the week. Me, on the other hand,
Yeah.
as the official critique corner Disney Plus correspondent, I decided to take the plunge and I watched the first two episodes of Ahsoka.
You sound
Uh,
so excited. Is this what saves Disney Star Wars?
no, not even close. Not even close. Which is disappointing because I like the character of Ahsoka. I know most Star Wars fans like Ahsoka. They liked her in Clone Wars and by extension Rebels. So getting a live action version of her, oh great. No. Um, so uh, so first of all, and speaking of Rebels, if you didn't watch Rebels, you are going to be so lost if you try to watch this because
Hmm.
because this show picks up um, after Rebel. Well, okay, so the last episode of Rebels, they flash forward to after the Empire fell and the rebellion won,
Hmm.
and that's where this picks up. So it's similar time frame.
Kind of in the
Um,
same timeline as The Mandalorian, maybe a bit earlier.
I think it's in the same timeline as Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Hmm.
So, and I think that's when the end of Rebels is. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not up on the timeline. It's kind of a mess.
Daniel, are you telling me that you, somebody who is familiar with the title character, didn't do a bunch of extra homework to prepare yourself for this show?
Uh, well, no, I didn't. Or at least I didn't
We're
go back and
we're, pay,
review
we're
it.
paying you too much to be our Disney correspondent. We are
I
disappointed.
I know, yeah, I know. Well, well. Here's the thing. Like, I did watch Rebels, but that was like 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't. I mean, I
Wow.
remembered. Yeah,
So you're much better prepared than the average normie who just enjoyed The Mandalorian and wonders who this red lady is.
yeah, yes. And so, but yeah, so I kind of remember some of the characters, but and some of the plot lines, and I kind of remember how it ended. But there's some stuff there's some characters that kind of threw in there. Went, okay, do I remember him? Is that somebody I should remember? But anyway, so Ahsoka picks up, uh, like I said, kind of around the same time frame as the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, and it starts off where Ahsoka has arrested a night sister named Morgan. But then on the New Republic ship where she's on, it gets boarded by these two. I don't know if I would call them Sith, but definitely not good Jedi. Uh, One of them is the master is played by the late Ray Stevenson, and then there's a girl that's with him. I don't know. I can't remember the girl's name. I don't even know if that was mentioned or not. Maybe it was. I don't.
Whatever.
Whatever. But so they board the ship and then they spring Morgan and then they because they need her because they're trying to find Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, at the end of Rebels, what happened was the rebel the crew from I can't remember the name of the ship. Um, they managed to trap Thrawn on his star destroyer, and Ezra traps him there. And they use these alien things. I think they were like like space whales or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I never actually watched Rebels, but I heard that there were space whales.
Yeah, and they were capable of hyperspace travel, and they used Ezra. They used them, and Ezra traps them on the Star Destroyer, and they fly off to another galaxy. So that's what happens to Thrawn and Ezra, and so they're trying to get Thrawn back. and they hinted at this at the end. I guess they hinted at this at the end of the Mandalorian, where with what's his name's character, uh, Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
That they hinted at that they were trying to bring him back. They're trying to bring Thrawn back, and so then Ahsoka goes into the ruins of this temple that was run by the Night Sisters, and she solves this little puzzle, and she gets this orb that's a map. Sound from Stop me if any of this is sounding familiar.
I've heard people describe that whole bit as being like from a video game.
It was, yeah. Yeah, this whole thing it's like the Rise of Skywalker. It has a video game plot. Yeah, so Ahsoka gets the orb, and then she gets attacked by these HK droids, the assassin droids. And then they self-destruct and blow up, and then Ahsoka makes this big escape on her ship, and the droid that she's with, his name is Yang something. If you watch Clone Wars, he's this droid that was part of the Jedi Order, and he was the one who helped the younglings get their lightsabers.
Okay.
And so he's working with Ahsoka now. And it just says, so a bunch of pointless filler. Yeah, pretty much. So, and then when she gets the map, she goes and meets with Syndulla, she's the Twi'lek from Rebels. And
the galaxy's only clothed Twi'lek.
Yes, exactly. And of course, they can't figure out the map, and Ahsoka's... And then Syndulla tells Ahsoka, well, maybe Sabine Wren can help her out. And of course, and it turns out Ahsoka and Sabine had a falling out because Ahsoka was training Sabine to be as her apprentice.
She was the punk
Mandalorian.
rock Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, she was the punk rock Mandalorian. And and there's a whole scene in there where she's riding on her speeder bike listening to punk music. Like, okay, there's punk music in Star Wars.
I mean, there's multicolored Power Ranger Vespas in Star Wars after Mandalorian or after Boba Fett, so why not?
Yeah. I don't know Ninja. I can't tell you why. So then she shows up, and of course the only reason Sabine is even interested in this is because it could be their way for them to find Ezra, and which kind of interests her. And of course, Ahsoka tells Sabine, you can't take the map off the ship, and But then, of course, she leaves. Ahsoka leaves Sabine alone with the map. So guess what Sabine does?
Respects Ahsoka's wishes and just goes to find another way.
Not quite.
I'm usually so good at predicting things.
Yeah. And, hey, Chinggis, good to see you. How's that Ahsoka show so far? Not that good.
Worse than Blue Beetle.
Yes. And why did they split them up? I don't know.
Conflict,
yes. So Sabine goes, and then she's looking at the map, and she actually manages to decipher it, but wouldn't you know, doggone it, assassin droids show up, along with the I guess Sith apprentice, and she and Sabine have this little lightsaber duel where Sabine's using Ezra's lightsaber that he left her. It doesn't go well for Sabine, and then she gets stabbed in the chest with the lightsaber. Now, you get stabbed in the chest, one would think, nobody's going to be able to survive that.
Right, that's what killed Obi-Wan, or excuse me, what killed Qui-Gon.
Killed Qui-Gon. But next episode, she wakes up in the hospital and she's perfectly fine. so getting so if we learned anything from this, and then Obi-Wan, it's getting stabbed with a lightsaber means nothing.
Because I mean, Kylo. Actually, no. It only affects you if you're a man because Kylo was dying from it before Rey healed him
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ninja says you can recover from a lightsaber wound. Eh?
without having to get new hand parts.
Yeah. Yeah, and he also says, just imagine if you're a Rebels fan finding out that the ending scene with Ahsoka and Sabine, just to see that they got split apart almost immediately. Well, that's the thing. I think that scene in Rebels where it ends, I think is where this picks up at the end of episode 2. I could be wrong, but I think they're kind of like
So it's not like a
yeah,
straight one. It's like this might be a prequel to that moment.
right. Yeah, I think. Don't quote me on that, but yeah. Um and yeah, Ching damn lightsabers kind of suck now. Well, yeah, under Disney Star Wars they do. Um and so uh then she and Sabine tells Ahsoka that she deciphered the map, but she couldn't, but she couldn't save any of the data, and all her computers got trashed. And so then they do a little digging, and of course, Ahsoka operates under this assumption that there's actually a droid that's still hiding in Sabine's house. So she shows up, and sure enough, there is, and she kills the droid, and they and they hack into the droid's head, and yeah, I know weird. And then they figure out that the I think that the droid came from Corellia. And if you know your Star Wars lore, Corellia is the big shipyard, and
Home
that's
of Han
where
Solo.
home of yes, the home planet of Han Solo. And they go to so Ahsoka and Syndulla go to Corellia, and then they find out that the shipyard that they're working at is still working for the Empire.
Dun
And
dun dun.
dun dun dun, yeah. And then another one of the bad Jedi show up and fights Ahsoka, and Syndulla has to put a tracking device on the ship that's escaping, and we see the return of Chopper, the ill-tempered astromech droid from Rebels, who just kind of
Wow. Okay. So just listening to you talk about this,
yeah.
this is way more aggressively a continuation of Rebels than I was expecting.
It is, yes, yeah. And yeah, like I said, unless you watched Rebels, all the way through, yeah, you're not going to know who any of these people are, and you're not going to get like the whole, especially like the scene with Chomper. Like you're not going to get like what's the deal with him? Like why does he sound like that, and why is he wise, you know giving wise to Syndulla? Like what's going on there?
So Ninja steals the question I was about to ask. So why wasn't this just another season of Rebels?
Good question. It should have been. This series probably would have been better received and better uh yeah, better received if it had been animated as opposed to being live action. Yeah. It, it's yeah, I and of course, taking all that, the rest of that aside, like um the whole show is just like it was, I hate to say it, pretty dull. Like I was kind of having a hard time just kind of keeping my attention on it. Like the um the performances from all the actors are pretty stunted. Like they're just kind of like they act like they really don't want to be there. you know?
Which a Ninja asked the question, did they
Yeah.
just not want to make another animated season? And it occurs to me that Disney doesn't seem to care for animation these days. So
Yeah, there you go. Uh, so Chinggis asked, "Wait, how much of the show actually focuses on Ahsoka herself? Not enough."
Because okay, I never watched Rebels, but Ahsoka wasn't like a main character in Rebels, right? She would show up periodically.
Right. Yeah.
So taking her titular show and turning this into Rebels season 4 seems strange.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Like how could the House of Mouse have possibly made that decision? It's not like they made a Doctor Strange sequel, made it about America Chavez and Scarlet Witch, or that's really the prime example that comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Or an Indiana Jones movie about his goddaughter.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's. I mean, so far I'm not too impressed with it. Um, and and it could very well be like, I mean, I've heard good things about Andor. That that show, it started off slow, but it actually turned out to be pretty good. Pretty good. I
ah,
don't know if that's gonna happen with this one or not.
see, Dave Filoni. I've watched like a couple seasons of Clone Wars.
Hmm.
Um, that show did not rely on being slow paced
No.
and build up. So that kind of makes me think that this is not going to pay off well.
Yeah. Well, and also, well, in what that show, each episode was like 20 plus minutes, and so
Yeah,
it had to get going. Yeah.
yeah. Long run times. The long run times that streaming and digital film have provided us have not been a boon to entertainment.
No, they haven't. And to answer Ninja's question, the first episode was like 48 minutes, and I think the second one was like 45. And yeah, so it's yeah,
It's basically a movie.
yeah, yeah. And Ninja says, yeah, you had a strong female character. Why not focus on her? Well, it wasn't. The problem is they focused on one, two, three. You had two other strong female characters that you have to, for some reason, they had to focus on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm not surprised, but I am disappointed
yeah, yeah,
because I would have thought that the original creator coming back to do a live action show about this character would have been something, but guess not.
yeah. Well, Filoni has been very hit and miss lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think unless he has John Favreau there to kind of rein him in, you're going to end up with this.
Yeah. Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.